What's going on, guys? Coach Vic here. Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be breaking down the 7 phases of the swing. Let's get into it. Okay guys, so in order to simplify this process of the swing, a way not only to help you, but in fact to help me understand it. As a professional athlete, there wasn't much mechanical instruction. There wasn't much breakdown of swings. If anything, it was just the typical things that you kind of hear, which are good and bad if used at the wrong time. You know, hey, get on top. Hey, stay back. Hey, get that foot down. Hey, all these things. Don't drop your back shoulder. All these different cues and phrases that get thrown at you. That's all I got in professional baseball. One of the ways that I've made understanding the swing in order for me to teach it to my hitters is to break it down into phases, which is 7 phases. Okay, and so phase number 1 is your stance or your setup. Another way of thinking about your stance is your style. There can be uniqueness to you in your stance, okay? But there's also a few things that you need to understand about your stance. How you are standing, let's say in terms of level of readiness, okay? So say for example, some people might remember Aristides Aquino, okay? So he was on the Reds, the Punisher, they called him, okay? He came in and hit, I don't know, 8 home runs in 8 consecutive games or something like that with the Cincinnati Reds. And so he literally stood in the box straight up, facing the pitcher, and just stood there. This is my example of being 0% ready to hit. Then you've got guys like Harper or a Juan Soto or an Albert Pujols, where they're kind of wide, they're almost already in a launch position with their lower half. Maybe there's a little differences in their upper body, the angle. That is what I call more of, you know, upwards of the 70, 80, 90% ready to hit. Okay, so this is important to understand because what percentage of readiness you are is going to determine when you start your load. If I'm Aristides Aquino, I'm starting like this, well, obviously I can't wait until the pitcher breaks his hands for me to then try to get into position. It's going to feel rushed and I'm not going to be consistent getting into a good position. It's going to speed the game up for me, not going to pick up the ball well, etc., etc. So if you're going to be on the lower end of readiness with your stance, you're going to have to start earlier. And to start earlier means you're probably going to have to be slow and early. On the opposite end, you have the guys that are almost ready to hit in their stance. Whereas like a Pujols was kind of like one of these kind of things, boom, and up and go. So he was very, very close to swinging. Even in his stance, he is very much ready to hit. So he can wait longer before he starts any movement. I think for the most part he would start basically near the release point of the hand because all he had to do was just lift, boom, and go. That is important to understand with your stance. You can do it however you want. The key to it is how well you can get into phase 2. So now let's say for example this is my stance. I'm a little up, I like to be a little more upright, slight bend in the knees, slightly open, gives me a good view at the pitcher, helps me stay more relaxed, okay? And that's another part to the stance too, is to be comfortable. From here, we're gonna load into phase 2. Now, phase 2 is the load, but I also call it something else. I call it the control point or point of control. What this is the peak of your leg lift. So if you are a toe tap, boom, that's the peak. If you are a leg kick, right before your leg starts to come down, right when it starts to change direction, going down in the foot plant, that would be the peak of your lift or the control point of control, okay? And so the reason this is because this becomes a very, very critical part during the swing. When that ball is released, Mike Trout is almost perfectly at the peak of his lift at release point. Now, I've broken down a lot of videos for my hitters, and as the very first thing that I look at is where are they? Before I even watch what happens on their hit, how they do, I play each pitch in slow motion and I frame by frame until I see where are they at point of release. If they are in the process of still going back, they're gonna be late or rushed. They're gonna be late, or they're gonna have to compensate and rush forward to make up for it and then possibly be early. The point of control is very, very important because that is, again, when the ball is coming out of the hand. If you are rushing forward when the ball comes out of the hand, very likely they're gonna be early. Okay, it's almost across the board. I've watched this from girls fast pitch, little league, high school, professional, MLB. If the hitter times up a ball well, watch where they are at pitch release, okay? So again, if you have just maybe like a tap, if you tap and then go forward, so then your tapping position would be your control point, okay? If you're a leg lift guy, up at the top right here, that's your control point. That is your phase 2. This is also an opportunity for in phase 2, and this is where we can really start to get into our hip, and why getting into the hip becomes important. Our back leg, back heel getting into the ground, staying nice and firm in the ground, that gives us a good chance, a good ability to control that forward move from the control point, right? Makes sense. So if we can control that move forward, now that's our adjustment. That's our adjustability. We are near ready to hit. All it comes down to is us being able to see the pitch, recognize, make a decision, and fire our swing. It simplifies the process when you can be up at that point of control and all that's left for you to do is to come down and make a decision, okay? Another key with the control point is we wanna start setting our posture. So again, if I'm somebody who stands really open and upright, okay, this is just my style. Now, when I get ready to load into phase 2, I need to create some angles. I need to start getting into position because once I go forward, I want most of my movement to be done. There will be a little bit of movement, but from that point of control, my head is gonna be very steady. There's gonna be a little bit of movement, but there's not gonna be much up and down movement from that point. As they go from phase 2 to landing point, when the heel lands, they're at launch. Again, check out the launch position video that I did specifically on that. But once we get from control, we control our forward move, boom, landing soft like you're like on an egg. Don't crush the egg, okay? When you're at that launch position, this is phase 3. Now we go to phase 4. Phase 4 is gonna be the turn. Now the turn is the first move. Your first move is gonna dictate a lot. It sets everything in motion and determines how well you're gonna cover the plate. How quick you're gonna be to the ball, short, compact, and determine your direction and coverage, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so if my first move is maybe dropping the hands, I'm gonna have trouble. First move is opening up, I'm gonna have trouble, okay? I want to be able to get into a good launch, boom, and from turning from here, we got our back side starting to make its way toward the center, toward the ball. So we got our knee, elbow, knob, boom, kind of working toward the middle of our body, okay? That is phase 4. Phase 5, from the turn, we're gonna get into contact. Contact, we wanna have arms bent, okay? A lot of people think that you wanna have your arms extended. Not ideally, no. Is it possible to have arms extended when you hit? Yes, but it is not what we are shooting for, okay? And I'll explain more about that in a second. We wanna get to a good, solid position where we are leveraging our strength to transfer energy through the ball, through the bat, and then through the ball, okay? Our extension, ideally, is going to come after contact. That is you getting to it and through it. That is phase 5. Phase 6 is the extension. Now, once we're at contact, now 6 is the extension. Okay, and we want, ideally, the extension is going to get us, make sure that we're taking our energy not just to the ball and off, but to it and through it. And so the reason why extension is important, obviously for power, direction, also as a safety net. Because guess what? Believe it or not, you're gonna get fooled. Believe it or not, the pitcher's gonna make some good pitches. You might be a little early, your timing's not right. Things are a little bit off. So guess what? If I hit this pitch, say, okay, here's ideal. Boom, right here, ideal position, strong, and I'm gonna crush this ball. Okay, now let's just say Same thing, but it's like a change up. And so boom, here's where I would like to hit it. Oh, but guess what? The ball's not there yet. So now where does extension come into play? Boom. So here, no, boom. I might have to extend my arms a little bit to be able to get the job done. But guess what? If I stay on that path and stay on the ball and working through it, even when I'm extended, I can still hit the ball pretty well. Okay, now, for example, somebody like myself, I was a power hitter, so I could hit the ball way out in front. If I hit the bottom half and I hit barrel, I'm probably gonna hit a home run or I'm gonna do some kind of damage. This is where it comes into play, where the individual hitter is gonna depend on what they're gonna do when their arms are extended, okay? But you can definitely still get the job done, and you can definitely still be a good hitter if you extend your arms occasionally. But in the meantime, we are practicing where we want to ideally make contact. And that's gonna be in a more of a arms bent, more of a leveraged position, palm up, palm down through the baseball. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 is the finish. I personally believe that you can learn a lot from the finish. Maybe it's an old school thing. If that's so, then fine. I also believe that if it works now, it ain't old school. What I like to see with my hitters, I want them in phase 7 in the finish. I want them to actually control their finish. I want them to be in control of themselves. If you can't swing and stay in control of your feet and stay on your feet, then you're not going to be consistent. There seems to be something going on in the baseball world. I'm not quite sure what it is, or maybe I haven't wrapped my own head around it, is how we can take swings off of a tee, be falling over after, and call that ideal or call that a high level thing, okay? I should still be able to control my body. I can still do things correctly, optimally, and efficiently, and be able to control my balance. Okay, and so it's not okay to tell young athletes that it's okay to fall over. Okay, it's a difference if you are an elite athlete and you are slightly off balance after a swing, but you are also a professional or a high level athlete. Therefore, it's a controlled, uncontrolled movement. That's different. Don't tell young athletes that it's okay to just fall over. They're not good enough hitters to be able to do that. And phase 7 is to take your swing and to be able to hold it in position. Okay, head stays down, head is down through the ball. And the funny part is you're gonna see countless big leaguers, when they're swing, their head is down through contact and their feet are steady. In fact, I posted this video on Instagram with Miguel Cabrera, who was taking swings with the head staying down on the field, mind you, so the ball is traveling out, but yet he's still looking at contact point with steady feet, good foundation. After a second or two, he looks up and then tracks the ball. So in my mind, when one of the greatest hitters of all time is taking repetitions on a field, keeping his head down and holding a good, strong foundation, I'm gonna listen to it. I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna observe. I'm gonna learn from that. So ironically enough, Aaron Judge's hitting coach, I'm sure you probably know who that is, trolled me on that post saying that I should watch what he does in games. Responded with the clip of him doing exactly that in games, and then he never said anything back. So quite understanding it. Maybe it's me, that's always a possibility, but for the most part, as of right now, I'm standing pretty strong here with the hold your finish, okay? Like I said, call it old school, call it what you want. If it works today, it ain't old. Okay guys, so recap the 7 phases. We got phase 1, stance. Phase 2, our load, also control point, okay? Another way to practice the control point is you can just have a toe on the ground. If you're a leg lift guy, you don't have to necessarily be in the air unless that's the drill, but you can kind of put a toe on the ground to simulate being in the air with your front foot. Okay, so let's say, there we go, phase 2. Forward move, controlled. Phase 3, launch. Phase 4, turn. Phase 5, contact. Phase 6, extension. Phase 7, finish. Okay guys, so hopefully this helps break down the swing, give you some structure to it to understand. If you understand the little bits and pieces of it, now you know where we can break down and highlight a particular area through various drills in order to make adjustments, in order to help the hitter put their best swing on the ball more consistently. Let me know in the comments below what other video or drill that you'd like to see me break down. If you like this video, hit the like button, hit subscribe if you haven't already, ring the bell, and I'll see you in the next one.